So this is the work we've been doing at XKDR Forum, and I'll just quickly take you through broad insights, and then probably Siddharth and Bhargavi can come in if they would want to add anything else. What we have attempted here is to nuance or add to the methodology of caseload estimation at the Bombay High Court. So we start by asking why measure caseload of a court itself. So in order to effectively manage the court's docket, the court administration needs a lot of information about the court's caseload. And currently, the official data that we have measures only aggregates such as your number of disposal or your pendency rates. But this often does not help us understand more nuanced performance of the court, its capacity requirements, how much judicial staff is required, how much administrative staff are required, or any impact of judicial reforms that happens. The need to do a pre-assessment, post-assessment of a particular reform is also not easily possible because of these aggregate figures. So we identified three problems with the current estimates, and we have attempted to solve for this. So the first one is that when you look at official sources that gives you pendency rate of a court or even time to disposal of a case, it does not inform a court administrator on how much judicial time is required per case. So a case might have been going on for 2 years, but it could have been just two hearings across 2 years with just maybe 10 minutes per hearing, right? So actually, it only took 20 minutes of the judicial time. So when you're giving figures like time to disposal or pendency rate, it really does not capture the essence of this. Second thing that often ends up happening when there are reporting of court figures is that uh, there are multiple cases that gets generated as a consequence of one case. So if for the non lawyers and the lawyers in the room, so when a main case is filed, there are often many interlocutory application that gets filed. So this can range from interim application that asks for an interim relief like a stay on a particular act by the other party, like don't freeze my assets or freeze his assets, so on and so forth. Or it could be as simple as condonation of delay petition, which is saying, okay, I filed this 3 months later, please excuse this, right? So, but in currently, each of these small interim applications are also considered as a separate case, and that leads to double counting. That leads to inflating pendency rates and also estimating judicial resource that's required. Finally, the way courts put up their categorization of case type really have no rhyme or rhythm to it. It's often inconsistent across sources, inconsistent across years, and it's mostly case court specific. So Bombay High Court puts out different type of cases, Delhi High Court puts up different case types, so it gets difficult to compare. Then we also see some case types are really archaic. It's not even used anymore, but it's still there in the system. There is no linkages to what is the old petition called currently. And there are a lot of duplication errors, spelling mistakes, so on and so forth. For example, the Bombay High Court original site, if you look at the website, it will give you 142 different case types. Now, if you similarly look at the same Bombay High Court original site at in NJDG, it will give you 19 case types. And even within that 19, there is a category called original. Now, what is original under Bombay High Court original site? Everything. And another is also other category, right? So, how do you map these 142 case types to these 19 case types that NJDG is putting out? So, these were some of the problems that we encountered while starting to work with the Bombay High Court data. So, we have tried to solve some of this, all three of it actually. Okay. So, we have collected a comprehensive data set of all the cases filed at the original site of the Bombay High Court from January 2017 to December 2024. That gives us about 2.5 lakh cases, and it generates about 8 lakh hearings and orders. So the first thing we did, if you remember, one of the problem that I mentioned earlier is that one case generates multiple different cases. So we tried to see if we can map all these small sub cases, connected cases, to one to its parent case, right? So when we did that, so if you look at the workload of the Bombay High Court for our study period, it looks at the outset that there are 2.5 lakh cases filed and handled by the court. But when we make this divide of connected cases versus main cases, we can see that actually only 60% of these were main cases, and the remaining 40% of the cases are just associated cases with the main cases. Now, why is this a major problem? Is because connected cases are often heard along with the main cases, right? So, for instance, if there is a writ petition with one interim application, you can record number of hearings for the writ petition as 3, number of hearings for the interim application as 3. Together, you would say, okay, there was 6 hearings conducted. That's the amount of judicial time that was required for these two different cases. But hearings are often held together for the interim application along with the main petition, and we see those duplicated orders in the court website as well. So, actually, there might have just been 4 hearings, which is showing up as 6 hearings. So we've done this for all the cases that is in our data set. How did we go about doing this? We looked at the case number, we looked at the case type as it's filed in the court's filing system, and we classified cases. For example, original underscore interim application would be a connected case, chamber order lodging would be a connected case. So we applied first principles legal analysis to this. Then we also manually cross-verified some sample to actually see whether it's written interim application in writ petition number. So then we would be confident that, yeah, this is a subcase. And finally, we also corroborated using the mapping done by the court itself. So the Bombay High Court, for however they have put out their data, they also have some good attributes. That is, they link the main case to the sub case in many instances. So we were able to corroborate that as well. So this is just a preview of the system that we have in within XKDR on the whole data set and how we went about mapping the cases and how this whole case family looks like. So this is a video and which I'm just gonna play. So this is a case which is a suit. The total hearings of this suit is actually about 100. And if you see the family members, that's all the sub cases in the suit. So there are about 25 sub cases. So the root case is the suit, and there is a level 1 interim application filed. And then there is a level 2 interim application filed. So it's an interim application within an interim application. And so on and so forth, it goes on. Right. So there were totally 25 cases for this one case, and then there were 2 levels of filings for this case. The second thing that we tried to do was, like I mentioned, Bombay High Court has about 142 different case types, and connected cases alone are at least 80 different types, like your interim application, leave petition, chamber order, lodging, notice of motion, and so on. While it's good for administrative purposes, they've been doing this for years. Legal practitioners know how to deal with it. They know exactly what to click. But if we have to estimate caseload towards a particular end, say whether to evaluate reforms or to calculate how many judges are needed in a court, this might not be very useful. So again, we deployed a first principles approach to looking at the title of the case type, nature of the case number, and from 142 case types, we were able to arrive at 19 case types for the court, 17 under main petitions, and 2 under connected cases. For example, there were 7 different case types that we classified as inheritance and succession case. So this was testamentary petition, adoption petition, custody petition. More or less, all of them deal with the same law. So they are dictated by personal laws. It could be your Hindu Succession Act. It could be your what is the Special Marriages Act. So they are all determined by personal laws, and since they are determined by the same laws, their procedures are also the same. So we thought it would be a good idea to combine all these cases into inheritance and succession cases. This diagram gives you the top 6 workload contributors at the Bombay High Court, and this is done across years. And if you look at it, you can see that the top contributors are writ petitions and inheritance and succession petitions. Suits form the least composition of the Bombay High Court. So, if you look at the figure, you can see that suits, for example, has started from 9.2, it went to 8.7, then it went to 5.8, and it went to 3. So, it's been considerably reducing with as years passed. Similarly, for tax suits, it started at 24, 16, 8, and then it's gone to 13 and 8 again. So we thought what could explain this principle, and we realized that the pecuniary jurisdiction increase for Bombay City Civil Courts happened in January 2023, and that probably explains why suits have reduced from 5.8 to 3.3%. Similarly, we saw that there was a decreasing trend in tax cases, and that's because CBDT has constantly increased the pecuniary threshold for appeals to the High Court from the regulator. So, if we were to just look at the workload of Bombay High Court, the overall workload from 23 to 24 has increased by 20%. But when we are able to break down into case types, we can actually see which caseload has in which case type has increased, which case type has reduced, so on and so forth. Finally, we can see that while the suits have reduced, has reduced, it increased the workload of the court because it seems that inheritance and succession cases have taken up that gap that was available. It's become from almost 20% to 30% now. Okay. Um, so just to combine the case type analysis that we did and the connected case analysis that we did, we can see that though suits are least voluminous, it generates the most number of additional cases for every case. So that is 1.51. Inheritance and writs, though they are the most voluminous, they don't really have as many sub cases. Now, okay, we looked at what is the case categorization, who are the top contributors to the workload of the Bombay High Court. Next, we looked at, okay, how much time does each of these case types actually take up of the court? So, we use number of hearings as a proxy for judicial time. And we see that though writs and inheritance cases take up the most workload of the court, it's actually just 3 hearings for disposal. And suits, on the other hand, need 5 hearings for disposal per case on median. Yeah, that's the same thing that I told. Now, the another interesting part of this is that while we see that there are so many hearings being conducted for each such case, the Bombay High Court has certain unique practices. So, one such practice is the proto-notary and senior master role at the court. Largely, the proto-notary plays the administrative function that is akin to the role of registrars in other courts, preparing dockets, preparing the cost list, so on and so forth. But the proto-notary also has certain judicial functions under the Bombay High Court rules. So, what we end up seeing is that in a large fraction of cases, most hearings are actually conducted by proto-notary. So, while we saw that inheritance and succession case takes up the most workload, it has increased from 20% to 30% from 23 to 24. 90% of the hearings of the inheritance and succession case are taken up by proto-notary. So, it actually doesn't need judicial time in the exact sense. So we think this such understanding of the caseload and the judicial time required will help us understand whether you need judicial capacity, whether you need administrative capacity, and also it will help in understanding or coming up with better scheduling systems. Um, Okay, key takeaways. Highest contributors are writs, inheritance cases, followed by execution and tax cases. 24% of total hearings conducted by Bombay High Court actually does not require judge time, and less than 20% in inheritance cases are conducted by judge. And each case filed at the Bombay High Court generates at least 0.36 connected cases. This can be 0 connected cases, and it can go as high as 95 connected cases per case. Okay, that's me. Bhargavi and Sid, if you want to add something before we open up, uh, please.
No, I mean, I think just my main takeaway was that when we look at a certain pendency, using this data, we can rationalize it to say that if you think that 100 cases are pending definition, it is possible that only 60 of them are pending. And if in that 30% of them are, execution applications, or sorry, if they're inheritance cases, which 90% don't take up judge time, then only 70% of that 60% is actually pending. So you can discount the court's numbers by about 60% to actually get a sense of what is the work that is demanded by the judges. This is currently just an instrument of curiosity for us. But as we work with, at least we're doing work in district court, so it doesn't matter. But I hope that at some point of time, high courts will take up the burden of doing better scheduling and looking at how much time does it take, how many judges are required. And in that, some of these insights we think will be useful in actually doing proper allocation.